Welcome back to a new video. I'm not entirely sure what this video is going to be. You might be able to tell from the title. Basically, obviously I've been getting into a ton of miniature games. Currently playing Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. We play D&D constantly. So the next stage was obviously moving into creating some kind of terrain for ourselves. So I've got some XPS scenery. This is from Army Painter. This was the best I could find. You get 7 blocks of it, so we can use this to create some probably small dungeon areas or terrain for Star Wars and stuff, just to create that 3D aspect to it. This is going to be my first time, so I will say, if you're looking for a how-to, this is not the video. This is a video you want to just throw on if you want something to watch, or if you're interested to see how it works out. This is not a how-to video in any way. This is my first attempt at it. So as well as this, we've got the foam stuff, we've got some PVA, which is, we're basically going to mix this in with some colour and sand. So we've got a 15 kilogram bag of sand because buying this was like £5. Buying any smaller was for some reason really expensive. So I've got an unmanageable amount of sand. Yeah, it's like 15-20 kg of sand. We're going to mix that with a PVA and colour, just to get a nice textured look on the rocks, because we are going to be creating some rock faces and then flocking it afterwards. So we've got all of that stuff ready. PVA, sand, and like I said, some colour. So we're going to do some dirt and stuff. So we've got this raw umber colour, just an acrylic paint, a cheap one. This was like $3.50, which is pretty good compared to the size of the Games Workshop stuff. So yeah, if you're planning on doing scenery, I would say don't use that paint because it is going to run out really quick. Save the good stuff for your miniatures and use this stuff on terrain. So as well as that, we've obviously got rock sides and stuff to create. So I've gone for, again, a couple more of these. We've got a black and a white one. Mix those up and get a grey. I went for these just because we can sort of choose the colour of grey, but also there was no grey to find. So that's why we're doing that. We've got the paints, we're going to mix all of that up. Once we've created what we want from the foam, we'll mix all of this stuff into a paste, start painting that on, and then obviously this stuff needs to be stuck together. So we could do it with PVA, we can do it with super glue, anything. And then we're gonna fill the cracks and create sort of a hill design to it anyway. Something characters could actually walk up with this stuff, which is just all-purpose filler. You can find that at like Wilco's, B&Q, any of those places. And then obviously we've got the flock and stuff, which is grass for all you other newbies learning this stuff like I am. So I'm super excited to try and see what we can get out of this. Hopefully it's something we move into a little more. I would love to be able to design my own D&D set pieces. So that's the goal of this. So I might create some walls. This is going to be a test. So I hope we've got a few bits at the end to show you, but it is going to be testing stuff. It's going to be trial and error. So like I said, if you're looking for a how-to, I'm sorry, this is not the video, but for now, let's throw this stuff together and see what we can create. Right, so with this foam, you can get like a hot wire cutter or hot foam cutter, which you can get from Army Painting themselves. It's quite expensive. I mean, if this is something I get into properly, it's something I'm probably gonna pick up because it makes it easier. But for now, we've just got a Stanley knife. Help us get into this for starters. We're just going to use it, obviously with the hot wire cutter, the advantage is when you're cutting shapes and stuff, it looks more natural. So this is going to give quite a straight cut, and then I'm going to have to go in and chip parts off myself. With the wire cutter, you can create sort of a wavy effect or not such a straight effect, so it looks more natural for the rock or the ground that you're creating. If you're looking for where to pick this up, I picked this up in the UK on Amazon for like £15, which for 7 of these things is pretty good. It can be difficult to find, so hopefully if nothing else, if you learn nothing else from this video, you learn where to find the stuff to do it. So hopefully that's some help. I've got some sheets. Right, you do actually get a book. So this is for Dungeons and Dragons Caverns. If this has got sort of a guide in, we might try and follow it. Okay, so there is a doorway guide we could use. There is how to fashion a spiked pit, which could be pretty cool. How to create water, again, that could be quite a cool effect. Ideally, what you would do first is you would sand this to get rid of some of the texture on it to create a more rock-like surface. They then use this to sort of scratch indents and stuff to make it look broken. What I'm gonna do is, I'm probably just gonna use the knife to create it. So they had rocks and stuff to create indents like that, which I think will work well in creating a surface. So you just wanna sort of, looking at this now, you're gonna be like, oh, this looks terrible. But you need to create uneven surfaces because it wouldn't be natural. So it needs to look, maybe leave some scratches in there. Because I think the majority of the floor should have some indentation or some damage to it in some way. With this, you need to sort of plan. So I'm gonna build some walls, I'm gonna have some broken down, but I'm gonna have this as the base for the whole thing, because I think that might work the best. So let's say the wall here is the broken wall. So we probably need to have some kind of rubble, which we can use one of the sheets for. So we'll start breaking that up and sticking bits down, which should work. I think the ground over here should probably have a little more indentation to it then. So let's take a few chunks out of it. Just what you can do is, like I said before, you can use a ruler and draw on some of the effects. Lucky for me, this is the outbuilding which we've had redone. If you've not seen that video, you can check it out on the channel, but it does mean I've got easy access to some rocks. So I am just gonna roll these around. Oh God, that does not feel good. Just create indentation. I think almost the whole thing needs some kind of damage on it. It doesn't want to be, you don't want to try and plan it, just throw it everywhere. Make some indents. It really, just as much on here, the better. When we use stuff like a wash later on and some colour, we can really bring this out to look a little better. I am going to just try and cut a bit out and see how that looks as well. Because we probably can, yeah, we'll just create some little indentations rather than just cuts as well, just to make it look a little more interesting. I am tempted, just because of the size, so particularly these ones, they are the exact size of like a 30cm ruler, or they are 30 centimeters, would be the easier way to say that. So I might just, this is what I mean, very backwards on this channel. Should have done this before. I don't think it makes too much difference at this point. It only needs to be a slight this is why you're not watching for tutorials. The thing is, it doesn't really matter if it goes off. It's gonna look and add some more of those creases. But this is looking, yeah, that's probably the right size. I've got a few miniatures here, so yeah, that's the perfect size. You do it that way as well. Yeah, all good. So I'm gonna quickly draw this up. I'll probably speed this part up because you guys don't need to see it, especially with all the mistakes I'll be making. Okay, that is not, it's not the straightest of lines, but it is a line. It does mean it's gonna look a little off, but I don't even think that's an issue. Yeah, these aren't massively off. It's gonna fit a mini, that's fine. Yeah, we should be okay. This should look all right. By adding these indentations as well, when we add the wash, it's just gonna soak up into here and it should add a really nice texture to this, I hope. We may lose some of this depending how we paint it though, is the only thing. So we'll see how this goes. This kind of thing would be the perfect project for maybe, obviously you're gonna have to do the cutting and some of the stuff, but a child would happily press some rocks into some sheets of foam, then paint it afterwards. I can already think of an afternoon with my nephew building him like a farm or something. This could be a really unique project for you and maybe like a son or daughter. So in the comments, let me know if you do decide to do this yourself after seeing this video. It's that thing of if any idiot can do it, so can you. And probably a lot better. If you do make one or you've made terrain before, send it over to me on Twitter. It's Woody REC. I would love to see your creations. Stage 1 is complete. We've got our board. It's not the prettiest of boards, but it's our board. So we're gonna go with this one. We're gonna see how we can create this and make it look a little more interesting. So let's get into the next stage. I think once we've done this, we need to start adding some levels to it, adding some rocks. So I'm gonna grab one of these and let's have a quick think. So at this stage, you've got a few options here. Basically, you can use PVA, which I think should hold it. I'm gonna use super glue just because super glue solves all problems. I'm just gonna put a really, I think I might do it on this side. So I'm gonna stick it to the side here, and then I'm gonna attach this. So let's get a nice, potentially you could make the argument, and it'd be a good one, that you should do this last. And I've just thought I need to create some markings on the wall. I think we can do that afterwards. So yeah, we're just gonna stick that on there. What we're gonna do with, so I've got this piece here, I'll cut it in half basically. I'm probably still gonna cut this down. I'll have a think, but it's gonna go like that. And then I'm gonna keep this side open. So that's the aim. This piece here, I'm just gonna use to break up and use as rubble and bits. I am gonna cut this wall down. Probably something like good if I showed you. Then I'm gonna use the broken parts from this to create realistic rubble. So that should look pretty good. I am excited to see how this goes. I should probably have painted this before doing this, but I am very impatient, as you will find out if you stick around on this channel. Not the best thing when doing this type of work, but does mean we can get some stuff created today rather than drag it out over a few weeks. So I am interested to see what we can do with this. I think, going against what I just said about being impatient, I'm gonna keep it like this, because I can build this as like the top of a tower, and I have got a few boss fights that take place in a tower. One in particular, one of the big bads, this would work perfect for. So I think I'm actually gonna do it that way. So I need to create what I would like here ideally. This is gonna be quite difficult now. Oh, no, it's not. Never mind. So I'm going to explain. This is going to be the base of a Necromancer. So I need a big throne here, which is where he's found. But the miniature I use from Epic Encounters actually comes with a throne, which is going to take up the majority of this. So like this area. So it's going to be a really close quarters fight, which is going to be very interesting. Doesn't really favor the Necromancer, but obviously they've got their phylactery and stuff, which makes it a little more difficult of a fight. So it doesn't really matter how deep I go here because it's going to be cut out anyway. So that's what we're going to do with that wall, just to give it a broken effect. Now this part is going to be used to create rubble, because this is exactly what's fallen off that wall. So there should be this amount of rubble. Let's take a look at what we can do. I'm just going to pop that there so you can see it's broken. This almost needs to be cut into blocks. So I am going to just take this first part and cut some blocks out of it. Again, don't worry about damaging stuff because it needs to look damaged anyway. So if you can accidentally do it during the cutting phase, it's gonna look a little better on the floor. Right, we've created a ton of mess. Useful mess though, so we can use these bricks to sort of build a natural fall over here. And we can spread these over the room depending how big of an impact it was. I'm probably gonna cut, be nice if it was in shots. I'm probably gonna cut here, so it's a smaller wall. So I will take some of this rubble off, but we have got extra. It's just sort of iron stuff as you go. Trying to work where is a good place to cut. I'm thinking sort of Warlock tiles, so it doesn't want to be a high wall. Where's my makeshift ruler gone? Let's go for about here. Again, it doesn't need to be exact. We are gonna sort of mess it up as we go. So let's just cut it across, try and break it. There we go. I think that's more of a natural looking size wall for this type of game. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into it, just cut some bits out. The messier I can make it look, the better. We'll just cut some parts of it away. I think I need to cut more of this out now. Like I said before, measuring as you go, just cutting away, seeing how it works. I think that looks pretty good. We can probably even. Right, so after that, what I've done afterwards is, I'll try and show you on there. It's a little hard to pick up the, I'll do some close-ups as well, but I've put some impact on it, some scratches, some similar stuff we did with the rocks. So I'm just gonna make sure this is all stuck down well now. Actually, I know I said I was gonna cut some more off, but this has kind of worked out nicely. I could use this again as a broken part. Maybe this part of the wall's coming away completely. So it could actually match up quite nicely. I could stick this down and then we just need a little part to go here. I think we might be onto something here. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. That would look quite cool. I am gonna learn from my mistakes and cut this first though. So I've just cut some parts at the top just so it's not so natural looking. Put some chunks out. Right, so I've created the last part of the wall. Again, I've just used the standing knife to create like a break of the bricks and stuff, so we can use all of this stuff afterwards and scatter it out as debris and stuff. So we're gonna glue on this wall, and then what I'm thinking is of leaving, so if I use the wall like that and present it like this, leaving these sides open so it's easy to get to for players. Okay, so that's the first stage for that done. Like I say, I will add some of this stuff on afterwards. I'm gonna keep it to the side for now because I might use some for the Star Wars as well. So I'm gonna grab my spare bits like this. I'm gonna try and create basically like a hilltop. So just add in some different heights for our games. We're gonna basically put one underneath and then one on top and then another one and slowly reduce the size so it makes like a gradient. But I haven't done it before, so we're gonna see how it turns out. So we're gonna try and plan it slightly. I'm gonna draw out sort of the shape I want. This is gonna be the largest one because it's gonna be the bottom of the pile. So we're gonna cut in from here. I think we're gonna try and do it like that and then slowly reduce it. It will look better once it's finished, I think. I think that should work. And then we're gonna fill it in with some of this stuff just to make it slightly smoother. So all I'm doing on the sides is I'm gonna mark where this one goes up to so I don't overcut it, and then sort of where I want the next one to be. It's gonna depend how it looks afterwards though. So we're gonna cut this out and see if it fits. We can use this part for the last piece as well because this is gonna be smaller. So we do still have a few sheets left. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna use those for. We might create something else like this so we've got a few different types. But you can see how it's gonna work now. So basically this is going to be the bottom layer and then slowly it's going to be a gradient up, so we're going to fill it in just so it looks more whole afterwards, but you get the idea of what we're going for. Right, because this is so thin, normally the stuff you get is quite a bit thicker. I could stick two of them together, but it's going to make it slightly more difficult to do. So keeping in with the half-assed effort on this channel, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to cut some of these parts out just to fill it. So when I stick on top, I'm gonna gain an extra layer, but I'm not really using a lot of this stuff and wasting it. So that's the idea. I don't know how it's gonna work with all the paint and all the filler and stuff on top, but we shall see. Right, so we're gonna stick these down to the base and then we're gonna stick this on top. Hopefully it's gonna hold. I mean, I'll try it out so you guys don't have to. Let's see how it works. It should, I mean, because there's three of them as well, it should be enough to hold it. It should still be secure. We'll find out if it works at the end or not, but it looks like it's gonna work. What I'm gonna do is now stick another three on top of this, and this is gonna slowly get smaller, which should build an incline. Hopefully it looks okay at the end. This is the first time doing this, so if you've got any tips in the comments or you've built your own, let me know. And there we go. Because this is gonna be like a grass hill, we're gonna fill this with, we're gonna put some filler on anyway, then we're gonna paint it. We don't need to add any texture now because we'll do that with the paint. We've got some sand over there, which I showed you before. We're gonna mix that in with PVA and some of the grass, not with the grass, some of the paint, and then put the grass on top. So it should look quite good. I'm gonna move into that stage now because it's difficult to envision what this will look like. So I'm gonna paint this one up first and we'll save the other one for afterwards. I think I might go, let's go for one more stage bigger. So I'm gonna add an extra base on here just to get it even higher. It's quite small at the minute. It's a few inches. So we're just gonna add this. We're gonna add some more in between to give us that extra reach, just so it looks like a cliff top or something. And then I think I'm happy with it and we can move on to the next stage. So I'm just gonna put this against the sheet. I've got one sheet left and I'll load a little bit so we can still create some good stuff. Then we're going to cut this so we've got the base, and then again we're going to add our little bits in between, and hopefully the filler on this side is going to create a nice rock face is the plan. Right, so we're going to stick these down again, try and create some extra thickness. Hopefully it holds. I think the taller it gets, the less stable it's going to be, so this is definitely going to be the last layer. It's just adding this stuff on top to see how it forms as a hill. Right, so that is our final hill, or this stage of it anyway. The next stage is going to be trying to fill in some of the gaps with the filler. I probably could have put that in before sticking it, and then trying to create some kind of cliff face here so it looks a little more natural. But that is stage 1 done, it's all stuck down, and it's came out all right. You can see how it's going to be sort of a gradient moving up to quite a thick base now, quite a sturdy base as well. Super excited to see how this looks when it finishes. I really don't think that step was necessary. If you're doing this at home, completely ignore this step. That's why I'm here to try this first. I think we're just going to paper mache over this, over here, to create this sort of hill. Because yeah, just doing that, it's going to take so much to fill it in. Right, so back to the Necromancer's Tower. We're going to put this one to the side. I can't really place it anywhere is the problem now. It's got all that stuff over it. It's made it a lot heavier at least. I don't know if that's a good thing. Basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to take a ton of this stuff and we're going to sprinkle it on the board or place it so it looks slightly natural. Obviously we've got a massive chunk missing in this corner here. So obviously these bigger bits are going to be perfect for that. So I'm thinking of sticking that down there and then using some of the bricks around it. I'm going to do a close-up of this stuff because it's going to be a little difficult to see just because of the light and stuff. But I'm going to get this stuck down. The only difficulty of this is then having squares they can stand on. So if you're watching this video and you're trying to pick up stuff from someone that has no idea what they're doing, basically my tips so far, just do it, just get into it and try it. You're gonna come up with something good, you're gonna be happy with the result. The other thing is, think of your game when you're creating it. So the other piece, the hill I didn't want it to be too small on top because obviously stuff has to stand there still. So I thought about that. In this case, don't try and block squares. So obviously the players need to be moving through this. So you've got to think where your players are gonna be, how they're gonna move through it as they go, which is gonna be important. So I'm gonna try and do this so it either blocks an entire square. So for example, I'm gonna place a couple on one, or it sort of blocks no squares. So if I can find like a smaller piece stood up somewhere, maybe that will work. The beauty of something like this is there's no set way of doing it. There is no correct way of doing it. The way you do it and the way you're happy with it is the correct way. As long as you're happy with the result at the end, or it's hard to be happy with stuff you make yourself. I know you're like your own biggest critic. So I would say as long as you're reasonably happy with how it's turned out, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. Obviously you'd like your players to enjoy it as well, which is why I'm trying to spend some time on this so it looks good, as it is going to be like a set piece for a reveal later on. What you need to try and do is, or at least what I'm trying to do is, find places where the rock has broken. So like here we've got a massive gap and we've just set up here, just so you can see where it's fallen. So maybe there would be some rocks around this afterwards, which I think would be a good idea, something like that, showing where it's broken up. It's just trial and error, testing where. And again, I would say if you're doing this, use super glue, not super glue, use PVA. Do not use super glue like me. I am very impatient and I just want stuff stuck down so I can move on to the next step. It also doesn't help that I'm making a video about it because obviously, because I'm against time, I'm against trying to keep this concise. Right, so there's the second angle. Hopefully that's slightly better. Obviously you need to see everything going on, but it's nice to see a nice close-up of what it's actually looking like once we're finished, or once we're nearing finished. So you can see where I've added these rocks around where it looks broken most. I probably want to scatter some of these as well. I think the smaller ones are better for like scattering, where we've got little bits like these. So what I'm going to do is, obviously if it falls, it's not just going to fall exactly where it is. It's going to, some of the terrain is going to bounce and skid across the floor. So we're just going to add little bits of that. And like I said, this is my first time doing anything like this. So hopefully you've picked up a few little tips. Well, I wouldn't say tips. You've learned from my mistakes, I would say, is probably the best way I could put it. So as you go, just keep hacking and slashing away at it, building what you can, adding what you can. My plan is to have the throne over here. So I'm thinking this is where they enter. I might need to cut a door or like a staircase of where they come up, which I think I'm going to do now. So this is going to be quite difficult, but basically here I need to cut out almost where they come up, which is not going to be easy. So down like that. So the idea for this part here is the staircase they come up to, so they're going to arrive here. I think that should work. I can use these slabs for something else, probably broken up over here somewhere. But I think that's coming together. I have got some paper mache, so we're gonna jump back to the other one, back and forth. I'm quite happy the stage that is at though, so I'm happy to paint that next. Right, so this is the final stage of it. It's sticking together now. We're gonna leave that overnight and then I'll come back and do the paint and stuff on this and this tomorrow. So we have got a few bits made. We'll see how that sets and then I'll prime it and you guys will see it in the next stage, so fingers crossed.